All righty. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tea Transitions. I'm Rose Davenport.
Hi, I'm Farah Baker.
And today we have the honor to have a special guest on Tea Transitions. We're joined by someone who helps individuals and families navigate some of life's most challenging and deeply personal transitions. Sarah Goding is an experienced family law attorney who has dedicated her career to guiding clients through matters such as divorce, custody, adoption, and estate planning. Um, Beyond legal expertise, Sarah brings compassion, clarity, and a commitment to empowering people as they make difficult decisions that shape their future. So it will be just a snippet where we will be diving into the realities of family law, not just the courtroom side of things. But also on the human side, which is, for example, how to protect your peace, how to prepare the for the transitions, and how to move forward with dignity and strength. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Sarah Godin to T Transitions. How are you, Sarah?
I'm good. Thanks for
Hey,
having me.
Sarah.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us today. If you don't mind, can you share with us about yourself and a little bit about your what you do for work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am in family law. I'm an attorney. I practice in the Northern Virginia area. And I help families and individuals through the divorce process. That it often includes things such as custody, visitation, child support, spousal support, the entire, divorce process itself, and all the things that come after divorces
Hmm.
that often people have to come in and work through and transition through. And my firm does estate planning and adoptions as well. I don't do them specifically, but my firm does. So
Gotcha.
we can help people in all stages.
Very
Mhm.
good. What does a typical day look like for you working in family law practice?
Well, I mean, it's always different. Family law is very, very different. It's one of the reasons I think I was attracted to this area of law,
Mm,
um, is because there's no two cases that are the same. And I think that's really important for people to remember when they're going through this, because I get all the time people that come to me and say, oh, my friend's case or my friend's divorce or
mm,
whatever. Family law is never two cases are the same. I've been in family law practice as a paralegal or an attorney for 15, 16 years now.
wow.
And I've never seen two cases that are, oh, yeah, those are exactly the same.
Mhm.
So my day's always different. Some days I'm in court a lot. Some days I'm doing a lot of counseling of my clients. Some days I'm in meetings with other attorneys. So it changes a lot day to day.
Right.
Now, you mentioned, no two cases the same. That's for our listeners to bear in mind that no two results are the same either, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the biggest cautions I give people is it's often comes in forms of like support because that's usually the most stressful thing for people going through divorce, either having
Mhm.
to pay support or having to receive support. And they're always talking about the numbers that friends received. You just can't do that because
Mhm.
cases are so, so different, very different.
Mm.
And so you don't want to come in with preconceived notions into this process.
Right. Right.
Okay.
What are some of the misconceptions where people have about family law or legal process?
I think one of the biggest ones, especially now with the wonderful world of AI, which, hey, I love AI too,
Hmm.
so I'm not
Mhm.
complaining, is that everybody thinks they can get their legal advice online.
Yeah.
And even before that, everybody thought they could do their divorces and their custody and stuff through LegalZoom, which has
Mm.
its uses. I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
a terrible thing, but um, I but the problem is that when people come in and they have real problems after they thought this simple thing could be handled by LegalZoom or AI, is that then they have to spend a lot of money getting it fixed, if we even can. And
Mm.
so, one of the biggest misconceptions I think people have when it comes to family law is, oh, we agree this will be easy. We'll just draft up something ourselves.
Right.
And I
Mm.
tell people all the time, even if you just have an attorney review it before you two sign it and then you go on and do the rest yourself, okay. But just don't proceed thinking that you know, because the biggest pitfall in these cases is that you don't know what you don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
unfortunately, you don't know it until it's too late.
There you
And
go.
it's not so that attorneys can make more money. We really are here to help people through this process.
mm,
You don't know what
Yeah.
you're signing. And a lot of times these documents, you'll copy somebody else's, not knowing it's a different state, different laws, different rules, or their case
mm,
is just very different than yours. So
yeah.
things don't apply.
Mhm. Now, listeners, to be specific, in the United States, different states have different laws or
Mm-hmm.
different variations of the law. So you have to bear that in mind. It's unlike Singapore, Sarah, as you know, where we come from, it's very small. One law dominates and rules. That's it, but not in a country the size of the United States.
Yeah, very true. Every state's different, and attorneys can't give legal advice in different states they're not licensed in.
Correct.
Mm,
So we can give you advice for what's happening here. Like I'm only licensed in Virginia. I can only give you advice about Virginia. I can refer you to other people. And with so many, I represent a lot of military and federal employees. So I have people from all over the world and all over the country.
mm,
And so we have to
Mm.
work together often with other attorneys to make sure they're getting the right advice, especially for people that are possibly returning to a home country after a
mm.
divorce. We have to do a lot of talking about, what the laws are in that country compared to here before we give them advice.
So you do represent foreigners?
So they're not, so we can represent a lot of, I represent a lot of people that were with places like IMF, World Bank, places
Mm-hmm.
that they're here on a G4 status. So they're here
Okay.
for a non-immigrant visa, but they may have lived here for 25, 30 years. So their entire
Right.
Mhm.
lives are here.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're getting a divorce. Sometimes people want to return home. Other times people want to stay here. So either way, it's a
Mhm.
big transition to what are they going to do next? Because if they are here on G4 and they want to stay here, they have to deal with a lot of immigration issues
Mm.
that come along with that. And then if they want to return home, it can change the dynamic of what the court here can do.
Uh, Good to know.
I want to touch base a little bit on the human side of thing. As you know, T Transitions is a podcast focused on women's journey of life. As a woman and having to go through some of these cases, I'm sure maybe a snippet of those cases kind of poke you a little bit inside, emotionally. What would be a good, I guess, tool that you can provide to our listeners out there who are probably having this thought at the back of their head of issues that they're having, kind of step what they need to take for themselves? Because as you know, women in general, they can be very quiet, introvert when it comes to personal stuff. We only hear about it when we sit down, maybe have something to drink, tea, and they start opening up. But maybe from your expertise, what kind of advice can you share with us?
Yeah, I think that especially for women
Hmm.
um, in this field is that they wait too long to come talk to somebody. They may have told a friend or two, possibly, but they don't want to talk to a lawyer yet. And
Mm.
I think that what my biggest piece of advice for women especially is just to find somebody that you're comfortable with as an
Mm.
attorney. You can go to multiple people until you find somebody you're comfortable with, and then you will know when you're talking to them. I know when somebody feels comfortable in my office because they just start talking to me, and they just
Mhm.
start talking to me about all the things that they've been holding in for all this time. And we don't worry about like what this means legally or anything. They just need to talk about where they are and what they're worried about.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think that people, especially women, think they need to, because sometimes we can be planners and we think we need to have it all set up and ready to go.
All the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't have to. You can come in with
Mhm.
kind of no idea what you want to do. And that's what we're here for. We're here to help you talk about what you want to do. Even if it's in the very beginning, you're not even sure if a divorce is what you want.
Mhm.
Maybe you just want to know your rights so that you can
Mm.
go on to counseling or whatever it might be to try to fix the marriage. Um,
Mhm.
but knowing that you're not out there without help. So
Mhm.
How
I
will
think,
that work then if let's say, here in Virginia, I'm just throwing Virginia because we are all here in Virginia.
yeah.
What are the first few steps that they need to do? You say start talking, right? Do they Google and see what kind of list of law firms in that area? What are the suggestions?
So there's a few different ways you can do it. I mean, many of my clients come through referrals from other people.
Mm,
And often you will know somebody that's been through a divorce or who knows somebody who's been through a divorce, right?
right,
It's not
right.
uncommon. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you have a few friends that you're comfortable talking to, put it out there. Ask somebody, do you know an attorney? Have you used an attorney? And then unfortunately, the only other way to go is like you said, go on your Facebook group and ask, who have you guys used an attorney in this area? And you get some people. You just have to understand that what people want in an attorney varies drastically. Like some people want what they call like fierce attorneys, somebody that's going to
Mm-hmm.
fight for the rights. Other people want somebody that's going to negotiate more and they don't really want to go to court. That's the last line. So you have to know what you want as an attorney for an attorney. And the only way to really know that is by going and meeting with people. And yes,
How important is that, the character of the attorney? You just
I think
touched
it's,
base on something I just like, ooh,
yeah, no,
that's
no.
interesting.
I think it's really important to the client, right?
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
Because what the client's expectations are what drives the case. And
mm,
if you have a client that really, really doesn't want to go to court and you're pushing, 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 pushing to go to court, it's going to make your attorney-client relationship not strong. And it's going to cause the cases often to fall apart or for you to be fighting with your client the whole time, which is just it's not good for
Mm-hmm.
anybody. It creates a bad
yeah,
experience,
Yeah,
right?
I think the key word here is relationship because that's what it is, a client attorney relationship. And if you're not comfortable with the person you're dealing with, then it's very difficult to even get across what you need and what you require in your particular case. Now, Sarah, having dealt with divorces and adoption, separation, all these are very emotional situations. Does that affect you in any way?
mm,
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said it didn't.
Mm,
You don't get used to it per se, but you do learn to kind of compartmentalize. And
mm,
so,
mm,
but this field is not easy for the attorneys either. We
mm,
have a lot of group support groups and things like that. We have
mhm,
other family law attorneys that we like to talk to and decompress with and things like that. We don't
mm,
talk about our clients specifically, but we
mhm.
talk about the things, the stresses, because you do want to help and you want to fix. I mean, I think that's why you get into family law.
Yeah,
mhm,
You want to help people fix their problems. And
mhm,
sometimes you can't do what you want to do, and it's extremely stressful. And when people are dealing with custody of their children, it's one of the most emotional moments they'll ever have in their lives. And it
mm,
can be extremely difficult to separate those two. We have to remember, though, that we have to be the attorney because if we get emotionally invested, we can't represent them in the way that they need, right?
yeah, yeah,
We need them to be, they can come to us with their emotional stuff because they need to talk to us about it.
mhm.
But we have to remain also on the business end of things because otherwise we're not doing them any justice. We're getting too
that's
biased
right.
and
Yeah,
we can't
Yes,
fight their case the right way.
yeah.
correct. Mhm.
What are the common mistakes people make during divorce or custody cases that you want to take this platform to at least say it out loud?
Mhm.
Ladies, try to avoid doing this. What would that
Yeah.
be?
I think the one of the biggest things is try to avoid being talked into things by your spouse. Remember that you're
Mm,
getting a divorce from this person for a reason. And yes, you too, I've seen lots of divorces where people get along very well, and after the divorce, they still get along very well. But
yeah.
there's a reason why you're divorcing this person. So
Mm,
more than likely, there's some kind of trust issue, some kind of communication issue.
Yeah.
So just remember, you can talk to them, but don't base all your decisions on how you think they'll react or what you think they want because that's not what you're here for anymore. You're
mm,
here about yourself and your children if you have children involved,
Hmm.
uh, not about keeping the other person happy in this new relationship. And I think that's really important, especially for women to remember when they're going
mm.
through this. And don't mom and dad are wonderful. They're great, but they are not you. They don't run
Yeah.
Hmm.
your life. And you should
Mm,
be doing what's best for you and not for what mom and dad want you to do.
mm. Now, this is something just I'm sure you will confirm this, but we have seen from time to time people going through separation or divorce putting out there on social media.
Mm.
What
Yeah.
do you think of something like that? Now, I personally think you shouldn't do that, but from your perspective.
Well, from my perspective, the first thing I think of is if that's not something you want a judge to be reading in court, you shouldn't be putting it out there. And because that's the end, really that can be the end for your case. We don't know,
Right.
so
Mm,
that's where some cases end up. And if you're putting
mm,
that stuff out there, you're putting it out there to the whole world. That includes a judge who, when you're sitting
mm,
on a stand someday and saying, no, I don't talk bad about him. And then there's
mm,
this post about all the horrible things they do. And there's also on like the personal mom side of things, because I have children of my own, is your kids can get on the internet.
Yeah.
And your kids, like it or not, there's yours,
They're
as soon to be
impacted by
ex-spouse
it.
or ex-spouse, is their parent,
Mm.
right?
mm,
And so it's a part of them. And when your kids read that stuff at any age, because I've had clients with adult children that it affects strongly, it's hard for them to have to read that. So on a personal
mm,
level, I would say don't do that. And on a professional level, I would say just try to stay away from it, especially during your
mm.
years.
So, in your experience, then, how do your clients cope with the emotional side of these legal transactions?
A lot of my clients, especially nowadays, is getting to be more and more accepted, are in therapy during this period. You know,
Mm,
whether it's a individual therapist, a support group for moms going through divorce, a support group for women going through divorce. There's so many resources out there now, and that can be done like this
Yeah.
online. So don't have to necessarily meet with people in your community if you're more of a private person,
mhm,
or there are community-based outlets now.
mm.
Divorce is talked about. You just have to be willing to get out there and find it. And if you're not that kind of person, then get a therapist.
Yeah.
They're a
Uh,
wonderful resource.
Now, I understand you are from a private practice. Now, part of our audience are immigrant women who come here. Now, they may not be financially stable enough to go to a private practice. Are there resources out there for them to get
Yeah.
some legal help?
Financial aid. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So every community that I know of has, and I'm sure it's this way in other states too, has
Mm,
community-based legal resources of some kind. So here in Northern Virginia, we have what's called Legal Services in Northern Virginia. It is an income-based program. I do find that there's quite a few of those. There's also a pro bono program through the Fairfax court system. So there
mhm,
are resources out there. There are not enough resources out there to keep up with the people that need them, though.
mm,
So sometimes they can have long wait lists. They cannot be taking certain kind of cases at certain times. So that becomes very hard.
mm,
Um,
mm,
and I do find that a lot of people fall in that threshold of, not enough money, but not
Hmm.
so little money that they qualify for those programs.
yeah.
And
Mm,
I mean, there's not a whole lot they can do. They're going to need an attorney. So family support.
mm,
If
Hmm.
you were getting ready to do anything else major in your life where you needed help from somebody, you would ask family for help with that.
mm,
And I think people need to not be afraid to ask for support through
Yeah.
divorce, because trying to do it cheap will get you in trouble. It just will. And
mm,
sometimes they are
yeah.
cheap. Trying to
Yeah.
do it, with
Mm,
ChatGPT can get you
yeah.
in trouble.
That is true. As the old adage say, it's cheap to get married, it's expensive to get divorced.
It
Divorce,
is.
1000%.
Yeah. Yeah.
I um I was wondering too, for our listeners, and most of us are very career minded and very independent. We want to know then what it takes to be a good, I guess, paralegal to start with before you can climb up the ladder to be an attorney. What does that look like?
So funny enough, I started as a paralegal. And when I
Wow.
started as a paralegal, I had no education in the legal field. I started as a legal assistant for a couple of years with a law firm. And then I had children. And then I was like, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. And then 2008 crash happened, and I didn't get to
Mhm.
be a stay-at-home mom anymore. And I went back to work, and I became a paralegal for an attorney near me in Northern Virginia. And I learned on the job. So there's different ways to become a paralegal. There you can go to school and you can get a certificate or an associate's in paralegal studies. You can also find an attorney that's willing to take you in, usually as an administrative assistant to
Yeah.
start with, and work your way up to the paralegal field. Because the way that I learned was just by doing it, by being
Mm,
there, by being a part of it. Now, I had a great mentor with that. He let me be very involved in a lot of his cases. And so I got to learn on the job very quickly. So
that's
I think,
awesome.
yeah. So when you put yourself out there, right? Ask
Yeah.
around.
Yep.
And this goes to any type of positions out there, just in general, right? But I think if you really have the passion to help families, it's all individual. Like I love community work myself, and I still do that. But then there's you can also do something else to add on to your passion to make yourself really fulfill, your mission of the day. Hey, I accomplished doing this, doing that. But definitely what you're doing is very admirable to me, actually. Thank you for everything you do.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I really love what I
Um,
do.
Now, speaking of legal, is there anything that, you know, let's talk about something aha moment here. If there's anything about the process that you think is is going to be an easy process and straightforward instead of having to wait for the lengthy duration of, the case, what would be beneficial for the listeners to know? Is it good for them while waiting for the case to kind of have zero contact, zero communication, because it will add up on the case to be very
Mhm.
heat up, right? Very hot. Normally, what kind of advice would you give your clients? Because we are only human, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
and especially for women out there, we wear multiple hats. Is there kind of a tool that you can advise them to look at, or a group maybe to go to?
I don't have any specific groups, but what I will say to people when they're going through this process is to remember to take care of yourself, right?
Mhm.
And so you don't have to communicate with the other party more than necessary. If you have children, you absolutely have to talk
Yeah.
about your children. You have to talk about
Mm,
day-to-day care. You have to talk
Yeah.
about who's
mm,
going to take them to this and who's going to do
Yeah.
that. But you don't, if they want to sit down and be like, let's talk about all our property, you can say no. You can say, I don't want to talk about that. You can say, nope, I'm going to leave that to the attorneys.
mm,
Oftentimes in our practice, we'll tell our clients, depending on the case, don't talk to your significant other at this
Mm,
time about this stuff because you too, from what you've told me, can't talk without fighting.
mm.
So
mm.
it's not going to get you
That's the
any.
key. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it's not
Mm,
about it needs to all go through the attorney so we make more money. That really is not what it's about. It's about the
mm,
fact that if the attorneys are talking and we've talked to our clients, we've gotten ourselves close to what we think our clients want, an agreement, and then they start talking and they start fighting, and then one person changes their mind, we start all over again, right?
mm,
Yeah.
Because you can't help it. There's emotion in a divorce, and the parties are
Mm,
going to have emotions. We, as the attorneys, are there to keep that out of the decision making. And so if your attorney tells you, please don't talk to them about it. They meet, they're doing it for a reason. They really are. They really are.
mm,
mm,
But I would say, you don't have to negotiate all the things before you come to an attorney. Don't do that to yourself unless you guys get along really well. I have
yeah.
had cases where people get along very well. They've talked about it all before they come in, and it does make it a lot easier. But if you can't do that, don't try to make it your relationship like that because it's not,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Now, what's the percentage of your amicable divorce as opposed to a contentious one? A lot, I assume.
Yeah, it's hard
Mm.
because a lot of people come in and they say, "Oh, this is going to be amicable. We get along great." And then it turns into a very contentious one.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas
Mm,
sometimes people come in and they're like, "Absolutely not. I can't even talk to him. There's no way we're ever going to be able to do this." And then it ends up being a real simple one because
mm,
they really don't maybe have a lot of possessions. They really don't have a lot of stuff to talk about. They just don't
mm.
know. So it's hard to say, but I will say that most family law cases settle before court. Even the
Mm.
ones
Really?
that are in the court system, they have a
Mm-hmm.
very high rate of settling. What what tends to go to court are issues over custody because those are
Mm.
the things that often, if you can't agree, there's no happy medium, right? You
Yeah.
can take the kids to Texas and leave them in Virginia.
Mm.
There's no happy medium
Yeah,
to that.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
That
but
makes
they
That's true.
sense.
usually
Yeah.
do settle even if they start in the litigation system.
Mm.
Sarah, with your work, it's very demanding. What do you do to keep grounded? What do you do after work to decompress? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I work out quite a bit. It's a really great
Let
way
go
to
of the anger.
de-stress. Yes,
No.
yes. I try really hard not to respond to emails in the evenings and to actually spend time with my family, which is really
Mhm.
important.
Yeah,
Uh, and sometimes I just sit and watch TV and turn everything else off. And I watch trash TV and it's great and wonderful. And I need pretend stuff. I don't watch
Mm.
reality TV because I tell people all the time, I live reality TV. I don't need to
that's
watch it.
Yes.
right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right, right. I want to
Yeah.
watch fake stuff on TV that's movies about things that I never am going to have to deal with. So that's how I
Mm.
decompress and get away from it.
Mm.
If there are three words to describe your day so far, right? Being very involved now as a family attorney, what are the three words be?
So I think, to be honest, you have to say stressful. This is a stressful
Mm,
field to be in, right?
agree. Yeah.
Um, it can be very rewarding.
Mm,
And it can be very educational. I'm constantly learning about people and the way they handle things and their emotions and how that happens and what the process is.
yeah.
And so I think those are everyday things that I use.
Mm.
Rewarding. Explain that a little bit more. Break it
It,
down.
it really, especially for my women that come in who have never had control over the finances, maybe
Mhm.
haven't worked in this country at all, have to get their immigration status going before they can even think about
Mm,
getting a job here in the United States. And then I see them get through the divorce, get themselves set up. They're paying their own bills. They have a job. They have this independence. And they come back in
mhm.
sometimes just to say hi, sometimes because they do have follow-up things that happen after a divorce. And to see that rewarding part of my job, that's great because they really do. I tell people all the time, I know the light at the end of the tunnel is a tiny little pinprick right now,
Mhm.
but
Mm.
you will get there and it will be better. It maybe takes a couple years, but it will be better and you will be happy you went through this
I
because you're
love
here for
that.
So you
I love
basically
that.
celebrate their wins and them overcoming their challenges, right? At the end of the day. Yeah, and
yeah,
their growth.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Do you keep in touch with them? Check
I
in
have
with
quite a
them?
few clients that I
Yeah.
keep in touch with that have, just really
Personal
made a
touch.
special place in my life. So
That's
yes.
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Well, the last question we have, let me read out loud here if I can see it. If you could sit down over tea with someone navigating a family law challenge, what's one thing you want them to walk away with?
Mm. I think it would still be my mantra of don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's from your
Mm.
friends, your family, somebody that you call up on a phone, a support group. Don't be afraid to ask for help because it can be very isolating going through a divorce. And you
Mm.
need to make sure you have a support system, whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah,
Mm.
agree.
Yeah. Excellent.
Wonderful.
Well, dear listeners, here we have Sarah. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us,
Yes,
Sarah,
Sarah.
today with all your wisdom and assistance. If anybody needs to reach out to Sarah, we will
Include
indicate.
Sarah's information,
Yeah,
contact information, Sarah, if you like. We can add that in the description. That way they can reach out to you directly and just have that consultation moment with you, and take it from there.
yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you
So,
for having me.
listeners,
Of
yeah.
course. Thank you.
If today's episode resonated with you, please hit the subscribe button, leave a quick comment below, or share it with a friend. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you would like to be a guest, please DM or email us at hello@ttransitions.com. Every story matters here, and we're so glad you're a part of this space. That includes you, Sarah. Thank you so much. Take care, be kind, and keep showing up as yourself. Till our next conversation, Thank you again. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. We see you in the next episode. Bye.